Yusuf, and I will be giving you guys a speech today about the abolishment of the death penalty in Washington State and why I am for it. Zzz. That's the sound of 500 to 2,000 volts of electricity going through one's body when they're given the electric chair. Since 1849, a total of 110 executions have happened here in Washington State. The first hangings occurred on January 5th of 1849 when two Native Americans were hanged for murder. The death penalty was abolished in 1913 and then reinstated again in 1919. Most of the executions occurred in 1 year, where in 1939 where 5 executions occurred. Washington State is amongst one of the lowest rates of using the death penalty as a punishment. Killing human life is morally wrong under all circumstances. The death penalty is cruel and an unusual punishment, which is prohibited by the 8th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Also, I do believe that a changed criminal can make morally valuable contributions to society. I'll give you all a chance to ask a question or any kind of questions at the end of my speech. I'll start off with a few reasons of how the death penalty does not abide by the 8th Amendment. The 8th Amendment states that cruel and unusual punishments should not be inflicted. The statement an eye for an eye should not apply to death as a being. If one life is taken, another should not be taken in return. As stated by William J. Brennan, J.D., Justice of U.S. Supreme Court, death is not only an unusual severe punishment, unusual in its pain, in its finality, and in its enormity, but it serves no penal purposes more effectively than a less severe punishment. Other punishments should be taken in the place of the death penalty that would abide by the 8th Amendment, such as life in prison, because I personally believe that if one committed a crime, that life in jail would be a better punishment than just being killed instantly, where it wouldn't leave them with any chance to think of the actions that they've done. And according to Amnesty International, in the death penalty question and answer section on its website, the death penalty is the ultimate denial of human rights. It is premeditated and cold-blooded killing of a human being by the state in the name of justice. It violates the right to life as proclaimed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It is ultimate, cruel, inhuman, and degrading punishment. The death penalty, as you can tell, doesn't abide by the 8th Amendment. Also, I do strongly believe that a criminal can change for the better and could make a valuable contribution to society. And I believe that if a criminal is rehabilitated and does programs and takes counseling, that they should be released into society and receive a second chance. And I believe that they can contribute as a law-abiding citizen. And if they can't be released to society, then I believe that they should spend the rest of their lives in prison rather than just killing, so that they can think about the actions that they have done. And prison could also scare someone straight, like if they were, meaning that they would feel the guilt for the rest of their lives and think about the pain that they have caused the person's family and or friends, and constantly keep that on their minds. And overall, letting someone rot in jail is an excellent punishment for taking someone's life rather than killing them instantly and leaving them to evaluate their actions. So this leaves us with the people who are against abolishing the death penalty. Many people feel that the death penalty is just. So I spoke to a few students at Highland Community College and asked them what their opinion was about the death penalty and whether or not if they thought it was just or unjust, and if it should be abolished. And one student told me that it is unjust and that the pain and suffering for the rest of that person's life is better than their instant death. And then there was other students that were telling me that it is completely just and that they believe in an eye for an eye, that if somebody kills somebody, that person should die too. I could see how executing the worst of the murderers sends a message to other murderers and warn them that that crime will not be tolerated, and that if they do commit murder, that they will be given the death penalty, but if wrongly convicted innocent people have received the death penalty sentences and tragically were killed by the state, what if they were falsely accused and people were given the death penalty? What kind of message would that have been sent? An example is kind of off of Prison Break, where Lincoln Burrows was about to be given the death penalty, and he was innocent. And if they would have killed him, then they would have just killed an innocent man and just let a whole bunch of people who should have been in jail, they should have been in jail, would have been free, and then the innocent person would have been dead. So the message that it would be sending, that innocent people are dying. So death penalty should not exist. And also that no one benefits from an eye for an eye. In the end, two people would be dead, and nothing good would come from that. And I could see how the solution may not be agreed by the majority of the United States, but if we look at the problem deeply, we can solve it by creating another referendum like they did in 1979 and stating that the death penalty does not just do justice, and that capital murder should be punished by life without parole and prison rather than just killing one person innocently. And if you guys could take a look at this handout, it shows that, if you could take a look at this and then just pass it around, that Washington State only has 4 death penalties since that new referendum in 1979, whereas Texas has 393. So it shows that we're not really even using the death penalty. So if we're not going to use it, then what's the point of actually having it? So if you could just pass that around and then everybody could see it. And it also shows that Washington State has one of the lowest death penalty rates. So as I said before, if we're not going to use it, then what's the point of actually having it? And from what I discussed today, does anyone have any questions? Yes, Nabat?
Why do you think the students at Highline Community College were for the death penalty?
I believe that people might think that it's just because they do believe in the eye for an eye, and there's a lot of religions like the Christian religion and the Islam religion that believe that if you take somebody's life, that another person's life should be taken in that place. So I think that's mainly why somebody would want to be for the death penalty. Does anybody else have a question? Okay, and as stated before, we could solve it by creating another referendum stating that the death penalty does not do any justice and that capital murder should be punished by life without parole in prison. And if nobody else has any questions, that'll be it. And thank you all very much for listening to my speech.